And of course, when I release a video talking about how the BMPT is kind of broken and how it sort of destroyed a certain battle rating, on that very same morning, well before I even dropped the video, Gaijin moved these vehicles up to a new battle rating. And so, not to sound like a total broken record here, and I promise this is the last video of this little, I guess, mini-series, let's talk about the BMPT and how it currently feels at battle rating 11.3. And thankfully, these changes didn't take very long for Gaijin to realize that, hey, it doesn't need to be fighting in this environment, which I fully expected it was going to be happening at some point down the line, maybe in the next major update, because it really wouldn't surprise me if they left it like that. But I will say this. I was going absolutely crazy trying to play my 9.7, 10.0, 10.3 vehicles simply because this vehicle would absolutely destroy all those experiences. The CRV, the new event vehicle, of course, aside from the T72 we have right now, the OWS, and a variety of other 10.7-ish wheeled vehicles and 10.3 was made insanely difficult to play thanks to these types of vehicles. Now, on the flip side, I did enjoy bowling with this thing. In fact, I still do to this day, although it does kind of feel like a nice challenge to be able to have to really figure out what I'm doing to ensure I don't get destroyed. But of course, more of that shortly. But of course, this is going to be based off my own personal experiences and opinions. However, I am pleased to say that 11.3 seems to be a very comfortable battle rating for this vehicle for a couple of reasons that I'm going to be outlining throughout the entirety of this video, which I promise won't be as long. Now, with that being said, if by any chance you aren't familiar with the high tier environment, the BMPT and the BMPT 72 were two vehicles that were previously sitting earlier this month at around battle rating 10.3. That was an uncomfortable battle rating to play in outside of said BMPT, simply because this vehicle is not only unkillable, so it felt, but even if you did get the flank on this thing, it would be insanely difficult to destroy this thing with a single hit. The same cannot really be said with the BMPT 72. I've always found that vehicle to be a little bit more easier to destroy simply because of the lack of crew members that you'll find with the BMPT. And speaking about the premium variant of the BMPT called the BMPT 72, this vehicle has also moved up, though. Before you start crucifying me in the comments, just hear me out. I think this should have stayed around 11.0 simply because it is so much easier to destroy. In fact, I actually enjoy fighting against this thing simply because it is so easy to pop, even from weird angles. And for some reason, the belt leading up to the breach mechanism actually feels a lot more weak compared to the tech tree variant, as I've blown this thing up so much more through that than with the standard tech tree version. And of course, this also gets a CITV, but it does not get access to the PD round, which is the timed fuse you'll find with the regular BMPT, which, by the way, I don't really use very often. I feel like it's kind of broken in a bad way right now. So give it a little bit of time, Gaijin might fix that, but then again, it's still a BMPT. And of course, as time goes on, things have changed dramatically. The armor was sort of improved for this vehicle, but at the same time, ammunition would actually detonate if you were to hit it in the belt. In truth, I haven't been able to use that to good effect. I feel like it doesn't work at the damn time anyway, so I always go for the driver's ports and the lower front plates. But now, Gaijin has recognized that this vehicle, which was sitting, I believe, at around an average of 81% on the win rate chart, which is pretty insane to think about, they moved this thing up before the main preliminary notes for the major BR changes and moved this thing up to battle rating 11.3. Now, there's a few issues with that, which I don't really think are big issues, but some people have had some problems with it. And at the same time, it now frees up battle rating 9.7 and 10.0 respectively. And trust me, the Leopard 2K fighting against this thing was a very miserable experience. But let's talk about the pros about moving this vehicle up to 11.3. Not only does it free up 9.7 and 10.0, which had very little capabilities to fight against this thing, but now this is going to be fighting against more high-tier, top-tier premium players around the 12.0 to 12.3 environment, i.e. Fujis, etc., which you would be amazed how well these autocannons can tear them a brand new one. But on the flip side, JM33, does make quick work of this vehicle, should it being the Fuji find itself flanking this thing quite successfully and even from the front, assuming you see those general weak spots. Which means if you are playing the BMPT, you kind of have to know what you're doing at this point. Sure, it would be pretty easy to just barrel and track everyone and then flank them, but for that matter, everyone has firepower to absolutely deal with you. And Gaijin has done a couple of things to make this thing a little bit less reliable, I would say, which is probably a pro if you're fighting against it, of course. It's, for some reason, I have found myself to lose fire control system way more often than not, assuming they hit the exterior fuel tank or even detonate this ammunition, which will be an external fire, of course, or blowout. The batteries go out here, the power system, which does disable the entire fire control system of this vehicle, which means you can no longer fire anything for that matter. And I don't know, that felt kind of new. I feel like almost every shot that's come at my direction in this thing has disabled my gun pretty damn quickly. And now they've made the munition able to destroy this vehicle quite reliably. I've been getting one tapped to this thing more often than not lately, and it's a bit of a frustrating experience, but it's one that I can appreciate nonetheless. And another pro, or a con, depending on which way you're looking at it, of course, is the fact that this thing loves to get down tiers. In fact, the gameplay you're watching is of me playing at 10.7. In fact, I tried to get about 2 clips from this, and both times I got into a down tier of 10.7, which means the whole BR increase didn't change too much. But then on the flip side, if you get put into those 12.3 games, things become very different, leading, of course, to the next part of the video anyways. But hey, I guess that's one of the big pros about this vehicle. It now gets to fight in a worthy environment against premium players, no less. Yeah, but onto the cons now of these changes, which I'm sure aren't cons for many people, is of course you are now fighting in a top tier environment where everything can really destroy you quite quickly. And seeing that Gaijin again has changed something with the internals of this vehicle, making it be able to be destroyed quite reliably from what I've found. Now your mileage may vary. I know some players have a hard time killing this thing, or maybe that Russian bias just plays into effect and it makes it impossible to kill. I've had it happen too. No, it's the fact that this vehicle, or these two vehicles, no longer have a good lineup. If we go back into the hangar right here, you'll see that we don't have any 11.3 at all, actually. We have the closest thing is the 292, the Moderna, of course, maybe some 11.7 vehicles for that matter, but really you don't have anything to really support you. The UM2 was 11.3 at one point, which means at this point, you're either going to have to kind of hope for a down tier at around 10.7, which does happen more often than you think, or you're going to have to move this thing up to now 11.7, which does risk you getting a full up tier to 12.7, which, don't get me wrong, the BMPTs can fight up there, but it's gonna be a bit of a wild experience, especially seeing that this thing has been kind of a whole W situation recently. It's gonna be a huge change in scenery, that's for sure. But let's be honest here. The BMPT needed to move up to 11.3. In fact, some players are even telling me that these vehicles need to be moved up to 11.7, but, and there's always a big beautiful but to that, if Gaijin decides to move this thing to 11.7, I think, and this is only my opinion, and I'm sure some agree with me on this and some may not, that it needs the APFSDS belt similar to that found on the BMP-2M. I would say a single belt would probably go a long way. There's a lot of vehicles that already kind of do that. The automatic is a good example of that. Only, what, 12 rounds of AP, and then the rest is fragmentation and proxy rounds. And then you have, I believe it's also the Chinese QN506, which has access to both the belts, but you can only carry one or the other, or at least one as a backup. But at that point, I think Gaijin might want to move this up to 12.0. You never know, right? But I would like to see an AP belt on that to make things a little bit more interesting, or perhaps even maybe a better variant of the attack missile, which it does have right now. It's not terrible, but at this BR, it's not really the most reliable thing to use, in my opinion. But with everything I've spoken about in this video, which I'm glad we kind of kept things a little bit shorter this time around, I want to know what you guys think about the BMPT as it currently stands. Is it in a good BR? Did Gaijin actually do well with balancing this, or perhaps they need to do something a little bit more. And also, I promise this is the last video we're going to be talking about the BMPTs in this fashion. The next one you'll see is either going to be a premium as a combo, or it's going to be maybe a lot later down the line when this thing is kind of fallen into the realm of irrelevancy, which it will at some point, I think. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Let me know down in the comments section. And to those who did watch my recent MTC release, you guys are friggin' awesome. No, seriously, thank you so much for that. Unfortunately, it just didn't do as well as I wanted to. I was saying as it should have, but really I wanted to on this channel. So unfortunately, I'm going to be likely migrating the content for MTC onto my second channel. If you guys want to go on to that, it's just going to be a channel where I do pretty much whatever I want, including short form content. I'll be moving up all the TikTok content onto there. Link is down below in the description. And yeah, it looks kind of fishy right now. And yeah, it looks kind of iffy right now. I'm still working on it, so bear with me here. But I hope you guys did enjoy this talking head. It is the last time I'm talking about the BMPT, I promise. And I'll definitely see you guys on the next one.